Hello Internet, this here is going to be a video where we try to add a bass line to a techno loop. I was working on the techno loop yesterday and didn't film that, but overnight kind of got the idea that maybe it was missing something, so I wanted to come back in and add some bass to it. In this case I'm borrowing from Mike Parker. We're doing like a swoopy bass line in there. You can kind of hear boom, boom, boom. Hopefully you can hear that in there, and if not, try headphones or Bluetooth speaker or something like that. The purpose of these tracks is to be part of a live set, so I don't really release tracks per se. I'm kind of too lazy to arrange them, and frankly techno arrangements don't really talk to me. There's big and then there's little and then there's a breakdown and then there's big again, and then you just kind of bring instruments in and bring instruments out, and I'll do that live, but I won't I don't really put the time into putting a track together like that for publishing on Beatport or Bandcamp. So the purpose of these tracks is for a live set, and so I want them to have bass. I want them to like fill a PA and a sub. I want people to feel the motion in the track. And while I like the austerity of the main lead line, that lead line, which we'll listen to now, I guess, I want to make sure that it works in a club on a sub. So let's listen to the lead line without the sub. Okay, here you just hear the lead line, that whoopie doop business. So I was trying to play a bass line in my head. You can see we're going to use the clone of the Moog Model D there. This one has some pretty good, adequate inputs from eurorack. You can see it's all wired up there in the image. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go through the process of wiring it up, and then finding a bass line that fits, and then also mixing in a couple toms from Electron Rhythm. And the theme of the day is going to be call and response, which isn't particularly groundbreaking in techno land, but sounds nice. Model D has control voltage and gate inputs across the top. There's actually two gate inputs. It's a little bit old school in the way they call things. For example, they call it a loudness contour and a filter contour. That would be like EG or envelope gain or envelope amount. So down here on the left, we've got the rampage. That's going to be controlling the gate of the Model D, and it's also going to be controlling the time, the length, the duration that it's playing to sustain. And it's also going to be maybe adding some of that whoop. This particular Model D is junk. So sometimes it does what you want, sometimes it doesn't, and you have to get creative. So I'm using the Schottky ratchet sequencer here. It's a very basic trigger sequencer. If you're familiar with like the Tip Top trigger sequencer, this is a way more basic version than that. But I keep it in the rack. It's worth its space because it lets me say this, then that, or play 3 of these and then play 1 of those. You also get individual track lengths and some other features like that. So across the top of the Moog there, we're plugging in the loudness contour and the filter contour. And from the rampage, which is a little bit like a Make Noise Maths, we're going to take it has an indicator that says the ramp is going up. So in the case of this envelope, it's going to go whoop and then stop, whoop and then stop. So while the ramp is going up is when we want the gate open. We're going to take the output from the Model D there, the clone, and plug that into a Pico DSP. The Pico DSP, I actually don't have the effect up. We're going to turn the wet dry all the way down, and then all that's doing is really splitting it to a stereo channel. I have it on a stereo channel in my mixer. I could bring it as a mono channel, but I have it on a stereo channel in my mixer. Then the last thing that's going to go in is we're going to take the actual shape of the Rampage, so the envelope itself, and plug that into the volt per octave input on the Model D clone. And that's that yellow cable there. If you see me like come in from the left of the screen and then turn around and come in from the right of the screen, I'm just walking around the tripod. Okay, so you can hear the Model D in there. It's just making a boom, 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 and it's pretty flaky. This one is, and so pulling out the volt per octave there to see if it's doing anything. It doesn't really look like it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the feedback mode. So there's 3 oscillators that we're not using. There's a white noise oscillator we're not using, and then there's the feedback, which is sort of the automated version of taking the headphone out and plugging it into the line in. So with that engaged, you can hear the filter just feeding back, but it is controlled by the contour and it's controlled by the envelopes. So we'll see if that gets us some noises we want. So we're playing around with the cutoff here, playing around with the envelope amount, with the shape of the envelopes, the attack shape, because again we're going for like a whoop. Getting there. And again, that's routed out through the Pico DSP just to split it to a stereo channel, and then going into a stereo channel in the mixer. It's a bass, so it's a mono sound, but just for convenience, I have it going through a stereo channel in the mixer in case I wanted to use effects or use the Model D for something else. So auditioning the sound here with the regular lead, just trying to see if it fits. And the next step is going to be to play with that envelope. So the attack time on the envelope is the gate time, so that's how long the signal is going to be open. And everything here is analog, which means it can be a little irritating. So if the gates are open too long, then it'll miss a trigger. It'll just hold the gate open until the gate's down again. It doesn't have a re-trigger. And honestly, at this point, I don't know if that's a function of the Rampage, the envelope generator, or of the Model D. But I don't want it to go too long anyway. I want it to just start at the first of 8 steps, or half bar, and then end at the half bar. So we're going for sort of personality and fine-tuning that envelope shape now. I have a trigger going on step 1 and step 9 if you're using like a XOX style 16-step sequencer. So that sounds pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and record that into the Akai Force over here, just so that we have a clip of it. It doesn't need to last forever. It doesn't have a lot of personality. It's not going to change. It's a sub. You don't really want that being too interesting, I guess. You just kind of want to have a groove. So I'll just take a short clip, maybe 4 or 5 bars. I'll hit record on the Force after the loop is played for a little while. The reason for this is you'll have maybe reverb tails or a tail in general, so I don't want to grab the very first time the bass line's being played. I want to grab it after it's looped a little while, so that there's some holdover slop that gets added to the front of the clip, and then record the clip for 4 or 5 bars, and when it gets cut off, it'll have that same holdover slop. If you're going to tweak stuff while you're recording those loops, you'll want to get back to where you were. So for example, if you're going to like have a filter here and you're going to play with the filter, by the time the loop is back, by the time you're ready to stop recording, you want to have that filter back where it was, so it's kind of in the same place as when you started, unless you're looking for something that sort of feels dramatically loopy. But the downside of that is that we're trying to like lose sense of time here. And so if you have like a 4-bar clip that goes beep 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 and then beep 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 again, it'll start to feel more repetitive than if you can't really tell where the loop ends or starts. And another trick there is don't make it a 4-bar clip, make it a 3-bar clip, make it a 5-bar clip, make it an 11-bar clip, something that will overlap unevenly with other clips so that they never really sync up, so they're always sort of out of sync. So we've got that recorded now. We're trying it out with the original lead. Sounds good to me. It has a nice groove to it. So we'll name it, and then I mark it green, which means like, good to go, we're going to use it, and hit save. So next up is I want to add some toms. I'm going to pull some toms off the rhythm here. I found some 909 samples. I haven't really gelled with the rhythm synths yet. The toms sound distorted to me. Just haven't got there yet, but I found some 909 samples I like. So these are tom samples off the 909. And we're going to pursue a couple of motifs here. The first one is going to be like a call and response motif. So the main lead goes beep beep beep, boop boop, and then beep beep beep, tom tom, beep beep beep, tom tom. For the second one, it's going to be... The second one, we're going to accentuate the first part of the call in response to the call. So we're just going to double the call with a tom, so we get like a range of frequencies there, so it'll make an impact. So that sounds alright. For the third one, you can see the samples. I'm flipping through the samples up there on the rhythm. You can see the... yeah, so those look alright. So for the third one, it's another pitched tom. And I want this to push the drum beat along a little bit. So I'm putting these on the last steps of the 2 beats. So the 8th and the 16th step. So it'll go bump, whoa, bump, whoa, bump, whoa. And I'm just kind of assuming this is going to work because I use it a fair amount. And that gives the drum beat a feeling of chasing a little bit. So just hit record on the force. You can see you can see the waveform filling in on the force. And then when you've got, again, 3, 5, whatever bars, you can stop record. Sometimes I'll go back and listen to them and make sure they loop cleanly, because you can get a click at the loop point at the end or the beginning. I'm not going to worry about that here. And then let's give it to a listen. Give a listen to it with the with just a kick drum pattern in there. So here's the tom on its own, or the toms on their own, adding the sub in. And then there's the lead. That grooves. Adding a kick drum, just one of the kick drum patterns I have laying around. This is using the internal synth on the force. This is the, it's called the Air. I think it's called the Air 500 if you have the VST, but on this synth it's just called the Air kick drum synth. I've got samples going for the hat pattern, another sample going for the clap pattern. Sounds good to me. Now I'm testing it against some of my other loops. So I'm going to crossfade using that fader on the force there. We're going to crossfade to another loop that I already made before that I like how it sounds. I feel like it has good frequency range. Turning it up a little bit, the clip up. I like that. Coming back to the new one. Those 2 tracks sound like they belong in the same set. I'm not sure if I'll keep this or not. There's always a process during when you're putting a set together. I call it killing your darlings, which is, I may love it, but it may just not work, in which case off it goes. So right now we're turning up some global effects just to see what sort of performance effects will do to the sound. And then cutting back the other way to fade out. And that's that. That is the process of adding a bass line to a techno loop. Thanks for listening. We'll be doing a lot more of these, or any more of these, depending on how this one goes. Still learning here, trying to figure out lighting and camera placement and the microphone and lighting the force and how to get the shots going for all these instruments here, so it's more instrument than fingerprints and ring light reflections. So stay tuned. We'll both be figuring this out as we move along. Thanks for watching.